Stepping Up to the Plate is the worst baseball podcast. We are back, episode number 6. We're going to get right to it today. We have our numbers, 20 through 11?
20 through 11.
For our franchise rankings. Just a reminder, in case you missed it last time, that is longevity, long haul, kind of next several years, not right now. We have 4 categories that we ranked teams based off of. And then we kind of sorted them 30 through 1 based on that. So our 4 categories were current roster, longevity of their current roster, so players that they're going to have around for a while, prospects, and front office / ownership. And we gave different weights to each category and ranked them based on that. So we kind of have different weights, but similar vibe overall.
Yeah, different formula, similar kind of, yeah. We're considering the same things in the success of future franchises.
Yes. I didn't even start the audio on here. Whatever. And then we invented the next immaculate. I invented the next immaculate grid. The next immaculate grid.
Credit.
It's a new baseball game. It took me a very long time to actually put into action, so I'm proud. I hope it works out well. We'll explain that in a little while when we get to starting. And then if we have enough time, we're going to give you each 3 playoff matchups that we would love to see. Before we dive into it, Noah, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be back. I'm excited to go over this, kind of advance to the next stage of franchises. You know, we kind of went over the bottom feeders. I'm excited to kind of get to the more controversial teams, you know, the teams in the mix currently, you know. So I think that'll be exciting. And I can't wait for the playoffs. So I'm very excited to talk about possible playoff matchups because there are so many I want to see, and there's so many possible good ones.
Well, hopefully we have time for that. Hopefully the camera battery doesn't die before we get there. You got something exciting coming up.
That's true, but they don't need to know about my personal life.
Yeah, he's getting married, everybody.
I'm going on a trip. We'll leave it at that. I'm excited.
Fun trip.
We don't want the camera battery to die, so I think we should get right into it.
Doesn't want to tell anybody about his trip. Unplanned.
I'll tell them when I get back.
Okay. Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Living vicariously through Noah's travels.
Yeah, that I won't even tell you about.
Exactly. I don't even remember where you're going, so I couldn't tell him if I wanted to. All right, let's get right into this. I started first last time, so you could start this time. Your 20th best team or 10th worst team.
Should we get the timer up?
Yes, let's do that.
My phone is charging over there.
We do this rapid fire.
1 minute. 60 seconds.
Not 1 hour.
Not 1 hour. I could talk about this next team for an hour.
Could you? Okay, well, let's condense that into 1/60th of an hour, starting now.
I'll only talk for 60 seconds about the Boston Red Sox.
Okay.
The Boston Red Sox are one of the most interesting teams on this list for me. It all comes down to ownership. You know, they're fine all around. They're having a fine season. They have a fine core. You know, the ownership is really the area. They have fine prospects. I mean, they have Marcelo Meyer. The ownership, I want to talk about Chaim Bloom because I think Chaim Bloom has been a disaster. I think he's been a disaster. The Mookie Betts trade, we don't talk about how horrible of a trade that is. I mean, Jeter Downs isn't on the Boston Red Sox anymore. They were actively fielding offers for Verdugo at the deadline. And Mookie Betts got traded to LA and immediately signed a contract he would have signed in Boston. But Chaim Bloom was too cheap to hand it out to one of the best players in the league, to their franchise player. They have a fine core, you know, an infield of Casas, Devers, Marcelo Meyer in the next few years would be very nice, but I don't have faith in ownership. And, you know, I'm not that excited for the Boston Red Sox future.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty similar to what I was saying at the end of last episode. I agree. It's the ownership for me. Just Chaim Bloom's not a baseball guy. Too smart for his own good.
And he doesn't spend the money they have. I don't get it. That's not a good combo.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to keep Mookie Betts, who are you going to keep?
Exactly. Alex Verdugo. All right, I want to hear your 20th team.
Okay, well, they're tied for 20th for me because the Red Sox and this team had the same score on my rankings. We're coming in with the Pittsburgh Pirates. They have a very promising farm system, but they're never quite in play to be big spenders. There's not a ton to build around right now. They got a few solid players, you know, O'Neal Cruz, some other youngsters, but especially with the pitching staff, there's no hope there for me for at least the imminent future. Rich Hill was their second best starter behind Mitch Keller until he got traded, and he's, 97 years old? This is where things get pretty tight on my list. We've got, a lot of ties coming up, especially today. And the Pirates could really rank anywhere between like 13th in here for me because they do have a very,
They
very
do.
solid farm system.
Fangraphs says it's the best farm system in the league,
I
which I don't know if I agree
I don't know
with,
if I
but-
agree with that. I could see it potentially, but prospects are only prospects until they pan out. But right now, I'm not seeing enough that's going to make the Pirates serious contenders for me for at least several seasons, especially if they don't spend a bit more. So that's where I'm at with the Pirates. Number 20 could be better, could be worse.
Pirates will be coming up shortly for me. But my next team, my 19th team, the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, this is a similar one to the Red Sox for me. It all comes down to the front office, to ownership. We know they're not going to spend. We know it. I mean, they've proven it before. And the writing's on the wall. David Stearns is going to New York this offseason. He's going to work for the Mets, and he's going to leave the Brewers. And when you're a team that doesn't have that much money, you need to kind of, find talent for pennies and have smart people in charge do that. And losing that leading guy who's been, in charge of so many smart moves is really going to hurt a small market team like the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, I like the core. They have some of the best individual arms in the sport, so I'm not super down on them. They have one of the best prospects in the sport, so I'm not super down on them. But the front office is a massive question. I mean, Stearns is why they've made an NLCS in the last 5 years. It's why they're consistently good, and, I mean, it seems like they're going to lose him, so I have some question marks despite a pretty talented team.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Brewers pretty soon. I have some similar qualms, but for now, I'm going to address the number 19 team on my list, the Philadelphia Phillies.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
It's a fun one for sure, but not for necessarily the reasons you think. I think the Phillies, correct me if you think I'm completely off base with this one, but it almost feels like the Phillies to me are becoming a Yankees-esque
No, I see
franchise.
it. Handing out huge contracts.
Handing out huge contracts, not building up much of a farm system, and they're definitely set up well right now, right? They're going to make the playoffs. They made a very, very deep run last year, obviously just one step away from the crowning achievement, the World Series. And they always have good pitching. They always have good pitching. They got Noel, they got Wheeler. They
one
find
of the
a way.
best rotations in the league right now.
Oh, absolutely, without question. And eventually, Andrew Painter will come back. Mick Abel is another very solid pitching prospect. But the one thing holding them back right now is the rest of that farm system. It's very shallow. They got a 4 out of 10 for me in my weighting. And that gap can easily be closed with free agent spending, which I wouldn't be surprised if it does. Dave Dombrowski is a spender. We know that. The Phillies like to spend money. They like to bring in free agents. But as far as right now, I can't prove that they're going to spend that money.
Mm-hmm.
I can prove that they don't have a very good farm system. And recent signings like Trey Turner are not panning out the way they wanted. So that's what is keeping the Phillies back for me from being higher on this list.
I feel very passionately about the Phillies standing on this list. I'll get to them today. Okay. Spoiler. I'll save that for that. But I like that. That's fair. My 18th team, the Miami Marlins.
Oh, okay.
Now you guys know how much I love Yuri Perez.
6 episodes in a row.
I think it's 5, but it will be 6.
Oh, you're right.
Episode.
Yeah.
I mean, there aren't. We did this exercise before. Ranking starting pitchers. We build a franchise around. I think I had him 2. There's really one pitcher in the league I would take before him if I'm building a franchise. That's Spencer Strider. And the rotation is set up as well as anyone's in the league. I mean, Luzardo has been awesome and is young. You still have faith, despite a bad year in Sandy, that he's going to turn it around at some point. He's not a lost cause. That rotation is set up incredibly well. I think it's a smart organization. I like the people in charge. I think Skip Schumacher's a bright young manager.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there are a lot of other questions, like in the offense. I also like what they did at the deadline. I know Ryan Weathers has been horrible this year. He's young. He was the 7th overall pick.
I mean, he's wildly young.
Like, even though he's been in the league for a long time.
24 or something?
I think he's 23. So I still have faith in him. And they need to figure out the offense, but there is a bright future in Miami.
I agree with you. They're my next team, too. It's a 3-way tie for 18th, but since you talked about them, I'll talk about them first as well. It was once a team filled with a lot of top prospects, and now that farm system looks depleted. That's only because those guys are recently promoted. They're still young. They're still almost on that prospect status for me. So while I couldn't give them a high score in the prospect rating, I do want to give credit to them because they have built a very solid foundation for the future. And it's worked out with the Marlins. They've had a pretty solid season. They've had a better season than the Mets. I don't think anybody was going to anticipate that coming into the season. And that's why I gave them the highest current roster longevity score of any team on the list that I've talked about so far. Obviously, teams later will be higher. But they're going to need these guys to stick around. and maybe open the pocketbook a little bit more than they've been.
That's the key.
Yeah.
They need to spend money. They need to retain these guys when they hit free agency.
Yeah, they've gotta retain these guys. They've got to make moves to fill in gaps with their pocketbooks, and yeah, if they want to make that next leap, I think that they're going to have to just spend some silver on them.
No,
but there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of potential. But yeah, anyway, that depleted farm, technically depleted farm, and the fact that they don't spend a lot of money in free agency is what's holding the Marlins back for me. But again, like I said before, anything in this middle range could change for me very easily. It's a very flux territory. Fluid.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I think unlike a lot of the teams we've mentioned, they have a path to contending.
Absolutely.
Which is hugely important. So, I mean, we're on the same page. We ranked them in the same spot. My 17th team, speaking of being on the same page, you just mentioned them. The Pittsburgh Pirates.
Okay, a little higher.
Higher, but similar range. I mean, I said it already. Fangraphs has them as the most valuable farm system in the league, which I don't necessarily agree with. But they have pieces. I mean, Endy Rodriguez is the backstop for the future. I mean, Henry Davis looks pretty good, even though we did trash him one podcast. But
we did. Really
it was just an easy joke. It was no hard feelings, Henry, if you're listening. I mean, they have the pieces. They have the pieces to contend in the kind of similar to what I said about the Nationals is they're rebuilding, and I think it's going to take them a little less time than the Nationals because they have a bit better of a farm system. I don't think they have the pitchers the Nationals do. I mean, they need Priester to really step up, but so I'll rank them higher because I think there's more talent, but I am a little concerned because like you said, I don't have the faith in this front office to spend the money or make the smart moves that maybe the Nationals will, but they have more talent than the Nationals. And talent was weighed heavier on the scale. That's more important, like longevity, core. So I think the Pittsburgh Pirates, the youth movement's here, and it might be a few years away, but just like the Marlins, they have the pieces and the path to get there. They need to spend money and be smart.
I agree. I see if things pan out with the prospects for the Pirates, I see them having an almost Orioles-like trajectory over the next couple of years.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I don't know if I'd go that far.
Orioles as in best team in the National League. Right, obviously, Orioles, American League.
I just think the Orioles have a deeper farm, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, similar path. I think they could potentially be early bloomers. Obviously they have Skeens now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They have Tamar Johnson, who has played well in the minors after being drafted last year. They do have a very solid farm. I'm going to push back a little bit. I think the Nationals are right there with them in terms of talent.
You haven't mentioned the Nationals, so we know where you stand.
Yes, they'll come today. Another spoiler, but a little bit higher. I think you think about the Pirates similarly to how I'm thinking about the Nationals right now. But I digress. I will talk about my next team, which is the Milwaukee Brewers. You already brought them up. I'll be short and sweet with this one, just like Reese McGuire. They have great prospects. They have really, really great prospects. Jackson Chourio, number 2, has really shot up the ranks, and nobody's really talking about Jackson Chourio. You hear a lot about other top prospects, but he's the number 2 prospect in baseball as of the other day. Sal Frelick just got promoted and has played pretty well. Their core now is keeping them competitive. And even though they're not traditionally big spenders, they do have a pretty solid front office. I would not say ownership is great, but
no, they're smart. They're analytical. They're savvy.
Yeah, exactly. They have one of the best farm systems in the game. That's really no question there. I just think the next few years are kind of question marks with the Brewers because now we're hearing about stuff like relocation that can all be a distraction to a franchise.
That might help them, honestly. They need more money.
It's possible. I mean, you move them to a market.
Fans don't want to hear that, but
no, of course not. And I don't want to see the Brewers move either. But hypothetically, you move a team to Charlotte, you move a team to Nashville. That's a lot of money coming in. It could help in terms of spending. I think the Brewers are set up just fine. I wouldn't put them too far above here, but I would say they're just fine. Marlins, Brewers, tied for 18th. Next team, gotta have to wait for that one.
Yeah, similar to the Twins, I kind of see the Brewers as kind of stuck in that no man's land. But I'll talk about my 16th team, and this one, I think you've heard of this team, the New York Yankees.
I have heard of them a little bit. You have them significantly higher than I.
Yeah, and I was gonna say I think you were too harsh on them. I think you're too harsh. I think maybe your fandom came out a little bit because
I don't know what fandom you're talking about.
Don't you have the laptop sticker?
New laptop.
Oh, new laptop. Okay. I was lying the whole time. Matthew's not a Yankee fan. They're so top heavy. That's the problem. They're so top heavy, but at the end of the day, they have Aaron Judge locked up. They have Garrett Cole locked up. Those are 2 of the best pieces in the sport for a long amount. They have longevity with those guys. So it's really about the keeping the current team together. I think is massive
Yeah,
for
I
them.
mean, two players don't.
But I think
Don't
we're
get
too
to-
harsh to give up on Carlos Rodon just yet. I mean, he was one of
He's
the best.
injured again.
I know, but I think that would be a little too brash to give up on him. He was unbelievable last year.
Matt Brash.
Matt Brash. We'll talk about that team maybe later. And they have and for as much shit as Brian Cashman gets, and deservedly so, because he has every resource he needs, he does spend money. Just like we just said. Look at the contracts Judge and Cole and Rodon, and even Stanton, even though that's a bad one. Like, look at the contracts these guys have gotten, where when you contrast that to the Brewers, who literally don't have the resources to contend in their current state, the Yankees do, and I think that's a huge factor.
I agree with you, but as I mentioned last episode, is that money that the Yankees have spent is just so misguided.
Cole's a great contract.
You have the Donaldson, you have the Stanton. You're paying DJ LeMahieu a lot. You're paying Anthony Rizzo a lot, who I think would have still been good if it were not for the head injury. But they throw money around wildly without any real pointed direction. I would much rather see the Yankees spend their money in a way on players like, obviously Aaron Judge is one of a kind, but they developed him, they drafted him, they worked him through the farm system, and he turned into a star, and then they signed him to a giant contract. I'd rather see them do that than spend money on guys like Rodon and Stanton and just like all these players who have already like proven themselves in other markets, and they're just like, oh yeah, come here, we'll take you from here, we'll take you from there. I would like to see some more homegrown talent for this team, and the front office just doesn't seem to have the discipline to do that. Meanwhile, if they did discipline themselves to have an approach like that 10 years ago, even 5 or 6 years ago, we would be talking about the Yankees in a completely different light right now. I really think that they would be at the top of the American League East rather than the bottom.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, think of the youth movement we thought was happening in 2017 when they made that ALCS came within a game of the World Series, and then it's kind of just plateaued.
Right, that was the high water mark of the Yankees' real competitiveness, in my opinion, because that was essentially a homegrown team, right? You had
Gary
was not
Sanchez,
right? Gary Sanchez,
Gleyber, right?
No, he was next year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Gleyber and Andujar were 2018. I'm pretty sure. But no,
Greg Bird. I mean, looked like a nice piece. He looked like a nice piece that playoff run.
He had a nice playoffs. But anyway, that's what I'm talking about. Obviously, not everybody you bring up is going to pan out, but if we can get guys in a
but he's not a fan.
What?
You said we, but you're not a fan.
Wait, I mean, just like okay, we're gonna talk about the next team now.
Not a Yankees fan.
We've covered our bases.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I want to hear your next team though.
Okay, my next team, my third in the three-way tie for 18th is the Houston Astros, actually. And they're a team that has found themselves here with nothing to do with prospects because their farm system is non-existent. But they are still a very good baseball team with a very solid foundation for the future. There's just a big disparity between where they rank now in terms of MLB ranking and where they're ranking over the next few years, which is why I have them as low as 18th. But the core is just too good, and the front office is just too savvy to let them fall too far behind this. But they have absolutely no solid prospects right now, and that's really what's holding them back for me.
Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. We all know their prospect. I mean, they have one of the worst farm systems and one of the worst.
They don't have a
system.
single top 100 prospect.
Yeah, in the league, they just traded their best prospect. Where I want to push back a little is you ranked him 8 out of 14 in their current team longevity. I think they should be higher. I mean, they still have Yordan. They still have Altuve. They still have Bregman. They have a lot of nice arms. I think you're right. They don't have the reinforcements, but I think this core can kind of keep them afloat for a good amount of time.
That's fair, but I'm not looking for a float.
Yeah. No, but I mean, they're a World Series contender this year.
They are, for sure.
And I don't see anything that'll make that change the next few years.
I just have concerns about the pitching rotation. Obviously the offensive core is there. You mentioned Bregman, you mentioned Altuve.
I mean, Javier, Valdez, Hunter Brown looks good. France looks good.
These are all guys that look good, but it's nobody who we've talked about as being like the next face of this pitching rotation,
You don't think Framber is?
I mean, Framber's great. Don't get me wrong. Framber is great, and Javier has had a down year, but is still very solid. But past that, I don't know too much about France. I don't know too much about Hunter Brown.
I'm a big Hunter Brown fan.
I know you are.
I like Hunter Brown. I think he's going to be a stud.
Yeah. Listen, I think the Astros are going to remain competitive. Like I said, they have enough to remain competitive, but I think there is a disparity between where they are now in terms of MLB ranking and where they're going to be a few years from now.
Yeah. All right. That's fair.
Spending could change that.
Yeah.
They could sign free agents, which they probably will. But
they're not afraid to spend. We know that.
Yeah.
But you're right. They have probably the worst or second worst farm system in the league.
Yeah.
Them and the Angels. All right, my next team, you mentioned them. This is my most fascinating team, maybe on this entire list, not even 20 through 11. The Philadelphia Phillies. This is a team that, so we put together our formulas, and we didn't rank these teams. We ranked them, and then it kind of spit it out. This was a team that I thought was going to be a lot higher. Like, I thought that I was going to have the Phillies as a top 10 team, honestly. And they came in at 15, and that really interests me because I fully buy them as a World Series contender now. The rotation is one of the best in the league. We already said this stuff. Andrew Painter is lurking. I know he's injured, but we know they can spend money. This is really the interesting part for me. I want to list some names for you. The first 5 names: JT Realmuto, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper. Those are the top 5 leaders in WAR in the 2022 season. Then add in Trey Turner, Rhys Hoskins, Michael Lorenzen, Nick Castellanos. How many of those players are in their 20s? If you had to guess.
0.
You're right. 0 of those players are in their 20s. The Phillies, their window is not as big as I think we think it is.
Not.
Because
it's
I know
time to capitalize.
Yeah,
for this team.
it is, and some of those guys are 30. I mean, Nola, Schwarber, Harper, Turner, they're all 30. So they're not super old, but that core. I mean, Bryson Stott's a nice young piece. Bohm's a nice young piece. I'm not really buying Brandon Marsh as a franchise player, and their rotation is old. So I don't think they're going to have lots. Is this the expression? Bites at the apple.
You could have bite at anything.
Okay, they're gonna have lots of bites at the melon, but and I honestly would not be surprised if this core gets one. I think this core, I think they could win it this year, and I think the next 2 to 3 years they really could win it. But with a bad farm, an old team, I don't believe in the future past maybe 2026 for the Philadelphia Phillies.
That's fair, and like I mentioned before, that prospect core really isn't there either.
Mm-hmm.
It is a window. You talked about age. I didn't mention that in my analysis, but you're 100% right. I think like this year, next year, maybe 2024 is like that.
Yeah, they got to get one. Who's your 15th team?
My number 15th, okay, so I had 3 tied for 18th. I guess you can say it was a tie for 16th if you want to be generous. But my 15th team is one that you talked about a little bit last time, and it's the Washington Nationals. I am a bit higher on them than you are. I do believe in this farm system a lot. I love James Wood. Robert Hassel still has promise, and I honestly still kind of consider some of these players like Abrams and Gore and Gray almost on prospect level for me.
Mm-hmm.
And they've all proven themselves in the major leagues, especially Abrams this season. And they've built itself up to be the farm system, one of the best in baseball over the past couple seasons with some of the trades they've made. I think they've been very savvy. I think this is going to be a faster rebuild than we anticipated, than anybody really anticipated. Honestly, we did talk about the Marlins, and they have promise. The Mets, kind of disappointing year after year. The Phillies, like you said, their window is closing faster than some of us may have realized. I think the Nationals could be poised to get back towards the top of this division over the next couple of seasons. We're getting to the point where teams are more likely to jump up than down in this list for me, and I think the Nationals are right there.
Yeah, I mean, you had them higher. I think you think the process is going to be a bit faster than I do, but I'm on the same page. I think they're rebuilding well. My number 14th team, similar to the last team I just mentioned, the Philadelphia Phillies, is the Toronto Blue Jays. Okay. Kind of a team you would think would be higher. They're younger than the Phillies. They have obviously a super talented roster, and they had one of the best farms a few years ago, and kind of all those guys came up, and we thought they're World Series contenders, and I don't think they've lived up to the bill just yet. I mean, Vladdy's been awesome, Bichette's been awesome, but some of the other guys in the pitching hasn't been great. The prospects, this core, it's similar to the Phillies, I think, where this core can get one, and this core is a bit younger, so they're gonna fall into a higher spot than the Phillies, but I don't know the longevity of this team just because of the lack of a farm system and kind of a lack of depth at some key positions. So I think Blue Jays fans would want to be higher, but I'm going to put them at 14 because I don't think they've done a great job of building around their key pieces and Vlad and Bichette. And there's lots of time, and they've made some smart decisions. That Gausman contract looks looks really good. The Bassett contract was good, but I don't know. They need to make moves and they need to improve the farm.
I agree. They're one of the teams for me. I have another three-way tie for 14 or I guess 12, whatever you want to call it.
Very indecisive.
Very indecisive. But listen, I didn't discriminate. I didn't with my scores, and these next three teams all have the same score. But I'll talk about the Blue Jays next. Really not a lot to add on to what you said. They have one of the highest current longevity scores because I really do like their current squad of players, and they're all going to probably be Blue Jays for the foreseeable future. But I don't know, that farm system just isn't there, and we've seen guys recently like not super pan out with their development, right? Like Nate Pearson didn't really turn into much of anything.
No, big
and
disappointment.
They traded some of their prospects, like in that Twins trade a couple seasons ago. So I'm really not convinced that the Blue Jays have what it takes to take that next step in terms of guys being developed, and I don't think anybody's saying that they do. But for me, I really think that it's the core that's going to have to stay solid, stay in Toronto, and they're going to have to bring guys in free agency because I don't see any other path to success for the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
In terms of longevity.
No, and just to add one last thing. I rated their farm a 3 out of 12. The only teams I rated 2, 1, or 0 or lower, Minnesota, the Angels, and Houston. The Angels and Houston have, pretty unanimously the 2 worst farm systems in baseball. So the farm is really not good.
Yeah, I give them a 2 out of 10.
Yeah,
on the prospect core. So
they have holes. So they have their stars, but they have holes at the major league level that the farm system is not going to be able to fill. It looks like. So we're in agreement again. My number 13th team is the Cleveland Guardians. This is kind of the team I think of as the inverse of the Phillies.
Yeah.
They're not going to spend. They don't have those stars, but they're young and they have the farm system and they're going to make smart, savvy moves. I love their young arms. Gavin Williams, I might be as high as he might be, my favorite rookie pitcher besides Yuri Perez long term. He's been he's been real. He's been pretty good, but it's just the stuff that you can see it.
Yuri who?
Yuri Wembanyama. Who's Yuri Perez? So kind of that combination of young arms because it goes deeper than just Williams. They have Bibby, they have Allen. Tristan McKenzie's going to come back at some point. So the combination of those young arms with just a smart organization and, I think that combo really pushes them up this list, and they might not have the money and they might not have the offense, to crack the top 10. And a lot of this is going to come down to Manzardo, who they just got from the Rays, and Bo Naylor. Can these offensive prospects hit? If they do, they're set up really well.
I'm going to get to the Guardians soon because I got some more to add on to that. But for now, I'm going to talk about the Mariners. And they're somewhere in that middle range for me in every category. They got an okay farm system. They have a good core. They have one of the better front offices. And if young arms like George Kirby and Logan Gilbert grow into top talent, if they can grow and sustain into top talent, the M's are going to be set up really well for a long time. But nothing for them ranks as the best for me, which is why I don't have them any higher than this tied for 12th through 14 spot. And asked me at the beginning of the season, I would have had them a lot higher, but they've kind of underperformed their expectations, which doesn't give me a lot of hope for this core the next couple of seasons. But things can change. Obviously a lot of teams this season have had worse years than we were expecting. The Mets, the Padres, the Mariners, the list goes on. So I'm not going to give too much weight to that right now. I think they have a very solid foundation. I think one of the more through and through solid foundations of any team on this list. But again, nothing is upper echelon for me.
That's fair. We called the Mariners average 11 times, in our segment a few weeks ago. So it's fitting they come in at 14th. Or tied for 14th.
Yes.
Or tied for 12th.
12th or 13th.
Yeah, somewhere really between 12 and 14.
Yes.
Average. My number 12 team is actually a team I don't think anybody would call average because they are quite unusual. It's the San Diego Padres.
We have a big difference.
And that's what I had written down. I said, I think this is the biggest difference. I won't spoil where you have the Padres. I think this is the biggest difference in our rankings. And I think for me, it comes down to the core, the longevity of the core. I don't think it's that, set up sustainably. Their 2 best pieces right now this season have been pretty undoubtedly Juan Soto and Blake Snell. Blake Snell's uncertain to be on the roster past this year. Juan Soto's uncertain to be on the roster past a year and a half. most of their arms are pretty old, and Yu Darvish is getting up there. He's done a lot of innings. Joe Musgrove can't really stay healthy. We know there's bad vibes in the clubhouse, and I think MLB Pipeline, updated their top 100 the other day. The Padres farm system was really helped out, but I'm not sure I'm buying the farm system. I mean, it's led
Ethan
by
Salas?
it's led by Ethan Salas, who's a 17-year-old catcher. You know what the two most volatile type of prospects are? 17-year-olds and catchers. So
You're not wrong.
I don't think it's he's holding that system. It's kind of inflated by him, and I'm not sure. I'm not saying I wouldn't be surprised if he's a great player, but there's so much uncertainty to really
I agree with you there.
build your farm around this guy. And the ownership has made mistake after mistake with their willingness to spend on the wrong people. Kind of what you said about the Yankees. I mean, they're just too talented to be lower. They do have Fernando Tatis. They do have Manny Machado.
I do like where the Padres have spent their money. Tatis, Machado, Soto.
I mean, that's not. They didn't really spend their money on just Machado, which is fine.
Well, I mean, they traded. They extended Tatis.
And you're just praising the Nats because they have all these Padres guys.
No,
they might lose them in a year and a half.
No, you're right. I guess they haven't spent the money on Soto. They might. You don't know that, but no.
Some of the quotes he's saying, I don't think he's coming back. I mean, there's a year and a half to change that, but
yeah, I don't know. I agree with some of what you're saying, and I disagree with more. I think you maybe are being a little overly harsh on them, and I wouldn't say where I have them, but I do have them higher than this. I'm not going to talk about them today, so I'm going to save my critiques. We'll get back to them next episode. I'm going to come in with my next team, my final team tied for 12 through 14 is the Chicago Cubs. I honestly surprised myself by seeing the Cubs here going into the season. I didn't think that they were going to be all that good, but they're right in the middle there for current core rankings. I think I had them as a 7 out of 14. Their prospect score has strengthened over the past couple seasons with the dynasty sell-off. And, of course, they have a very competent front office. They do know how to build a team over there in the north side of Chicago. They could be a big jumper for me, especially in this division, which is a bit weaker. I like where the Cubs are situated. I didn't think when they started selling off that 2016 World Series core that they would be as well positioned this quickly as they are.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
I really got to give the front office credit because they're proving that they know how to build a damn good baseball team, and they could make the playoffs this year. We snubbed them a couple weeks ago when we were talking about potential wildcard teams.
Yeah, hey,
I said right there.
I said I thought it, but yeah, no, you're right, and my number 11 team is not the Cubs, which means I have them in the top 10, and if we had made this list 6 months ago, I think the Cubs might have been in my 21 to 30 range.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
They've had really a great year, kind of in all facets. Just even past organizationally, they've had a great year. My final team of the day, my 11th team, you mentioned them. They were one of the 28 teams tied for 14th for you. The Seattle Mariners. I think you undersold their young pitching core. I
want to mention that I thought they have a very solid pitching core.
I think they have as good of a young pitching core as anybody in the league. I mean, the ace is Castillo. He's 30, so we're not going to throw him in this young pitching core, but he'll be a Mariner for, a few more years. And I love George Kirby. I am so high on George Kirby. I mean, his command is incredible. He's kind of like the Greg Maddux of today. He doesn't.
That's a fun, interesting.
Yeah, he throws harder than Greg Maddux, but he just doesn't walk anybody. He just throws strikes. He pounds the zone. Logan Gilbert, obviously, is a young, nice piece. Emerson Hancock was once highly touted prospect, and I love Brian Wu too. He has nasty stuff. Woo. The arm angle is great. I'm really in on that guy.
Angle.
It's true. I mean, he's hard to hit. He's a guy who's really hard to hit. He's a rookie. He's figuring it out. He's making mistakes, but I think long term, he's kind of a front of this pitching staff type guy. I also think the front office is a little bit overhated. I think people kind of don't think of Seattle as a great front office. I do. I think they've shown the willingness to make the big move with Luis Castillo, and they've shown the willingness to kind of make interesting moves. I remember that trade a few years ago when they traded Graveman to the Astros, and I think that is really important because they just did it again, and I think it was a super smart move to trade Paul Sewald to Arizona, kind of let Munoz be the closer. I think he's probably a better closer than Sewald in the long term and kind of get nice controllable hitters. I think they have a nice front office. I think they have a really nice pitching core. And, they're super average right now, but they for sure have the pieces to really, really contend over the next few years.
You make very fair points, and I could see them being higher. My problem, I think the reason why I maybe put the Mariners where I did is because all season I've been overrating them and overrating them. So now I'm like, I need to tone it back a little bit. But I see where you're coming from, and I don't disagree with
And
it.
I didn't even mention, J-Rod, one of the best young pieces to
course.
build a team around in the league.
Yeah, and he's been getting hot lately,
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So, okay, my final team of the day. It's not a tie for me, finally.
Wow.
At number 11, I do have the Cleveland Guardians. I think they're better positioned than we might think. They have a few very good prospects, and they never seem to let themselves fall too far below. Like they never seem
The
to let
Cleveland
themselves
Guardians
fart.
have never farted.
They've never farted
They
one
never
time.
let themselves
They
fart.
never let themselves fart, and that's really important when you're on a baseball field.
I mean, they
because
should
if
be
you're-
higher,
If
based
you're
on that.
passing gas on the baseball field, it's just a distraction.
Totally.
Hard to hit a
Couldn't agree
fastball
more.
when you're ripping ass. They're a pitching machine, honestly. They have the tendency to maybe fuel other teams' pitching rotations because they trade their arms that they develop, but they always have more, it seems like. And if they can hold on to a few of these solid arms rather than trading them and build around offensive talent like J. Ram, Stephen Kwan, the Naylor brothers, I think Cleveland could stay as like a fringe playoff team / AL Central champion for, a good 5 years at least. It's hard to foresee too far past that, but I'm liking where Cleveland's set up. I think that they're a pretty underrated team, kind of team that we don't talk about that much because it's Cleveland. But obviously, I've made it clear that I like Ohio, I like Cleveland, and I like the Guardians.
That's
So
crazy.
there we go.
No, that's fair. I mean, they're a team that's built to overcome, losing a Shane Bieber this offseason. They have the arms. Can I just end on this one question? Just
Sure,
yes or
yeah.
no? Just pick a side. You don't even have
Yeah.
to explain. Which pitching core would you rather have? I might know the answer because you ranked one higher. Would you rather have Cleveland's pitching core or Seattle's pitching
No,
core?
I would rather have Seattle's pitching core
Okay.
right now, but I think I would rather have maybe the approach that Cleveland takes to pitching.
That's fair. I mean, they can build those guys out of nowhere.
Exactly. Similar to the Rays, who
Yeah.
neither of us have mentioned yet, so they both crack our top 10.
Yeah. I think we're going to have a lot of the same top 10 teams, but you guys are going to have to wait and see for 10 through 1. We've been building it. I'm very excited to see your top 10. I'm very excited to unveil my top 10.
Absolutely.
Next time.
But for now, we're about to revolutionize the way that baseball fans play games. Immaculate
That's
Grid
quite a hook.
has nothing on this new game
Mm-hmm.
that my mastermind self has invented. So let me explain to you guys how this works. You start with a list of 10
I
teams.
need to listen because I don't even know
Yeah,
how
he's
this
playing. I'm quizzing him. I know the answers already. You get a list of 10 teams. There's a list of 9 accomplishments. For example, Hall of Fame inductee, 30 home run season, etc., etc. You have to correctly state a player who has accomplished each of the 9 feats from the list of 9 teams. Once you use a player from one team, you cannot reuse that team. It's out. It's out of your word bank. You might want to grab a notebook so we can write these teams.
I have a
down.
notebook.
I know. I saw
bought
when you
2
came
on
in
the
with
way
it.
here.
Office Depot, Office Max.
is on
My
the
bad.
closing sale. 2 notebooks for $1. I might not have a pen though.
Great deal. I have a pen if you
Okay,
need one.
I want a pen.
Buys notebooks, doesn't buy a pen.
The pens weren't on as good of a deal.
Okay, so the list of accomplishments is revealed one by one. So you don't move on to the next one until you've answered the one prior. So for example, if I say Hall of Fame inductee, and he chooses from the list, let's just say a New York Yankee, and he says, okay, Derek Jeter is my Hall of Fame inductee. He cannot use the Yankees, any Yankees player for any of those later accomplishments. So obviously this gets harder as the list goes down because the accomplishments are going to get more and more obscure.
And do I know? I only know one accomplishment.
Yes,
at a
you
time.
only know one accomplishment at a time. So you don't know what the next accomplishment is going to be. But from your list of 10 teams, you have to answer 9 accomplishments. And by the time you get to the final one, you're only going to have 2 teams left to choose from.
Okay.
And if you get one wrong, you're out. Or we'll just continue and not give you the point for that. So we're going to do more points. See how many out of the 9 you get correct. Yeah, do you have any questions here?
Can I have a pen? That's my only question.
Yeah, I'll grab your pen.
Thank you. All right, I'm ready. I might not be I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot at stake here. But I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. Okay, this actually took me a very long time to compile the list. I'd say there's probably a total of... Goodness gracious. I would say anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000 total name. Probably more than that. Probably.
Goodness.
No, there's a lot. There's probably like 8,000 or 9,000 names on here that we can choose from.
Okay.
So accomplishment number 1.
Wait, give me
yes,
the
our
teams.
teams. Okay, so
I saw Cleveland.
these were completely randomized using a random generator. So you got Cleveland, you got the Guardians, and like that counts anything that they've ever called their team. The Dodgers,
Okay.
the Angels, so both LA teams, the Mariners,
Okay.
the Nationals, the Red Sox,
A lot of teams we mentioned today.
yeah, the Tigers,
They are too bad to be mentioned today.
the Phillies. This next one's tricky, and I'll give you a spoiler. You're going to want to use them before the last question because there are no answers for this team for the last hint. Is the Diamondbacks
Oof.
and the Atlanta Braves.
Okay.
Okay, so those are your 10 teams. Got 9 accomplishments, revealed one by one. You have to stay a player. Once you use that team, you can't use them again.
Got it.
All right. Accomplishment number 1. Name a player from any of these teams that has a 20-plus home run season.
Okay, what team do I want to use? You know what? The D-backs are probably the hardest team to use. I'm going to go with Christian Walker.
Christian Walker.
I know he's got 22 this year, so.
Let's see. My system may have not. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, 2022 even he had 36. So
Okay.
there you go. Diamondbacks are out. He got rid of them fast. Right 20 plus home runs next to his name too, so we can keep track. So we're off to a good start. He got the first one. Our next accomplishment is an all-star batter. It has to be an offensive all-star.
An all-star batter. All right, what team would I like to use? Maybe the Tigers. Maybe Cleveland. I'm going to use the Tigers.
Okay.
I'm going to say Miguel Cabrera.
Just gonna fact check you here, even though I know for a fact Miguel Cabrera has been an all-star. Oh, and also you can't reuse a player,
Okay, so
which I think is pretty.
well, there's no Marlins, but
goes
yeah.
without saying. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Miguel Cabrera has definitely been an all-star for the Detroit Tigers.
Okay.
You are 2 for 2. Teams are starting to dwindle. Next one is a 100-plus RBI season. So we're getting a little bit trickier now.
Has Jose Ramirez had an 100 RBI season? The first thing that comes into my head. I would think so. But what, you have to be strategic. I like this. I'm going to actually say Ken Griffey Jr.
Okay, so he's
For the
using the Mariners. He's using the Mariners. Where are the Mariners on here? I mean, I know he's definitely had one. So, yes, he's had several. Ken Griffey Jr. had
What's his
147
highest?
RBI seasons. So, you've definitely got him in there. You're
That's
3
good.
for 3. Team's starting to dwindle. This next one's harder. We've 12 or more strikeouts in a game by a pitcher.
Ooh, okay. That's fun. I know Kershaw's done it, but I probably want to save the Dodgers. It's probably...
There are 309 potential answers, not including the teams that you've eliminated.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to say... I feel like Corey Kluber did that in Cleveland. I know for a fact Steven Strasburg did that in Washington. Do I take the risk and maybe save the team I know a little bit more about? I'm going to say Corey Kluber. I hope he did in Cleveland.
Okay, yes. Corey, I actually have the number of times that he's done it. Would you like to know how many?
Yes.
How about you guess how many times Corey Kluber had? 4 of the
12
Indians
or more.
Struck out 12 or more batters in
I'm
his
gonna
career
say
in Cleveland.
4 or 5.
16.
Oh my God, Corey!
Yeah.
We forget how good Corey Kluber was.
Yes.
Like 2015 to
No,
2017.
he was great. He won the Cy Young.
Yeah, didn't he win 2?
Yeah.
I think he won 2.
He did. Okay, so you're 4 for 4. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good so far. We got some good big name teams left: the Red Sox, Dodgers, Phillies, Braves, Angels, and the Nationals. So I feel pretty good. I feel like I'm set up in a good place. I don't know where these questions are going, though. I know they're getting harder, so
They're getting
I'm a little
harder for
hesitant.
sure. Our next one is 3 or more home runs in one game, which could be tricky.
3 or more home runs in one game.
So you got the Dodgers, the Angels, the Red Sox, the Phillies, and the Braves. You've eliminated your small market teams.
All right, I know. I don't want to use the Dodgers, but I know for a fact that I'm going to. Adrian Gonzalez did it.
Okay, let's fact check you. Let's fact
It was
check
one, I
you
could
here.
maybe guess the date too. It was like the 4th game of the MLB season in like 2015, I want to say.
Yes, he actually had 2 3 home run games for the Dodgers.
Okay,
in
I'm
his
sad that I
career.
used the Dodgers. Maybe I could have thought a little bit more, but there wasn't an Angel or National. Can I ask you a question? Even though, like,
Yeah.
can I ask you? Did Freddie Freeman do that for the Braves?
Freddie Freeman for the Braves. Let me see.
The other one that came to mind
Um,
was Ryan Howard for the Phillies.
Does not look like Freeman did it for the Braves.
Okay, good thing I didn't do that.
Looks like, yeah, Ryan Howard did it once.
Okay.
So-
All right. Well, I got it.
He got it, but the Dodgers are off the board.
The
That's the
Dodgers
team you
are
know
off
the
the
best.
board.
So, okay, next one. I feel like maybe this one is a little bit of a step in the easier direction. We're going with a sub-3 ERA season.
A sub-3 ERA. All right. What team? I don't think any player on. Well, I don't know if Ohtani did it, but if Ohtani didn't do it, based on the Angels pitching, I don't think any Angel has ever done that ever. No, just kidding. But I'm gonna go with.
You can
I'm
say
either gonna
say
go.
an Angel, a National, a Red Sox, a Philly, or a Brave.
I'm thinking either Strasburg or Scherzer here. Or like a Roy Halladay. Like he probably did that in Philly. Can I think of an Angel? I don't know if Ohtani. I don't think Ohtani ERA was that good last year. Did Jared Weaver ever do it for the Angels? That seems like a risk. I'm gonna go with Max Scherzer in Washington.
Okay, let's see. Is the correct? That's 12 Ks in a game. I don't know.
The anticipation is killing
Let's
me.
see.
You could hear a pin drop.
Yeah, you really could. What is this? Yes.
He did?
Yes.
What
Max
was it?
Scherzer had one. Oh no, that's with the Dodgers.
Oh no.
Oh no. Let's see. I don't know that he did. This is very disorganized.
Yeah, let's look up his career log.
Okay.
Scherzer's only there half a year though. Does that count?
Yeah, I guess so.
279.
Yeah, there he is. Okay, no.
He's had
we're
a
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had,
251. Oh yeah, I don't
he
know.
had 5 in a row in
Yeah,
Washington.
okay. Now I need to find him on here because this is WSH.
Just type him in.
I did. He's all over this thing though. Oh yeah, he literally did it 6
6
times.
You had me
Nice.
scared. He did it 6 times.
Did it 6 times.
That might be the most on the whole fucking list.
No, Addie Joss did it for Cleveland 9 times.
That's not a real person. That doesn't count.
Okay. Next one, we have a 20 stolen base season.
I only got 4 teams left.
Four
All right.
teams left, 3 categories to go.
I'm going to go. This was my best answer yet. I'm going Shone Figgins for the Angels.
Okay, I remember seeing him when I put him on here, so
I know he did it.
yes, let's see how many times he did it though, because I will have that. Sean Figgins, where are you?
Why don't you use Command F?
It's okay, fine, I'll use Command F. He did it
6 times.
6 times.
Whew. Back-to-back 6-timers.
Back-to-back 6-timers.
3 away from a perfect game.
3
Red
away from
Sox,
the perfect
Phillies,
game.
Braves.
Okay, the next one is an MVP or Rookie of the Year winner.
MVP or Rookie of the Year winner.
On either the Red Sox, the Phillies, or the Braves. I mean, I can think
Did
of
Acuna
one
or
of
Soto
every
win
team.
that Rookie of the Year? Oh, I think it was Acuna, but let me keep thinking. And I don't know if Freddie Freeman won an MVP in Atlanta. This is giving me a little trouble. I don't think the Phillies have had Rookie of the Year. Oh. Did Mookie win an MVP? I'm going with Acuna. Rookie of the Year.
Okay, let's see.
It might have been Soto, though.
I know. I'm pretty sure it was
Okay.
Acuna. Let's just look him up here. Yep.
Whoa.
Acuna won Rookie of the Year.
2 more. Did Mookie Betts ever win MVP?
Yeah, he did.
And did Freddie Freeman?
Yeah, he did in
They both
2020.
did.
And
All right.
Bryce Harper won for the
Oh,
Phillies.
he won the year after he almost died, yeah. All right.
Okay.
2 more. Phillies, Red Sox.
Yeah, well, this is the last question. You can choose from either of these teams.
Okay.
So, final one, I think it's the hardest. 1,250 plus career games played for that team.
1,000. All right. So that's like, what, 10 seasons on a team?
Without being traded, they have to have played the whole time.
Consecutively?
No, just for that team in total. Like, they could have traded and then gone back.
And they entered a game. I don't know why the first head, this is not my answer, and I think it's wrong. No, I'm not even going to say it. That's a dumb answer. I was going to say, like, they were on the roster, they got into the game. Because if I'm thinking of, for some reason, the closer
No,
popped into
games
my
played.
head. Okay, games
Games
played.
played.
All right. All right. Chase Utley was the first name that came to mind. I feel like he played like 12 consecutive years in Philly.
There are not a lot of answers for each team.
How many are there?
I'm seeing
Like a
about maybe
range.
20 for the Phillies and like 10 to 15 for the Red Sox.
Okay. Jimmy Rollins played a bunch of games in Philly.
I think we should make this harder. I think for a bonus point, you name one on each.
Okay. I'm going to say Chase Utley for the Phillies.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Okay, correct. He played 1,551 games for
Ooh.
the Phillies.
All right, so I need a Boston Red Sox. Who played? It's got to be a hitter. I mean, I feel like Ortiz didn't. He had years on other teams though. I'm thinking of like the 04 Red Sox. Like, I mean, like the best players on those teams, you know, they kind of switched teams a few times. Ramirez, you know, Damon. David Ortiz is probably. Let's see if I can think of anybody better. Not counting postseason games.
No, regular season games. I'll give you a hint. There's somebody on the Red Sox who played over 3,300 games for them.
That made me more confused. I'm going with David Ortiz.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
All right, you got it. 1,953 games for David Ortiz. He was
Too
perfect.
easy.
Was it too easy? I don't know. I'm wondering if I need to make it harder, but I think it was fun either way.
Who was the 3,300 game?
Carl Yastrzemski.
Oh, I don't fucking know that. Who else was on the Phillies? Oh, Pedroia was the other
Pedroia,
name.
yeah. Even Xander Bogaerts squeezed in there. 1,264.
Philly, Chase Utley. Did Rollins do it? Ryan Howard did it.
Not seeing Rollins.
No, there he is. 2009.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah. Well, look at
Wow,
that.
he had a lot. He had more
He
than
did,
Utley.
yeah,
he
he
might
did.
be the all-time leader for Philly.
Oh, yeah, it looks like he is.
He is.
That's
He's
crazy.
the only guy to get to 2,000 games.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go. 10 for 10.
All right, 10 for 10. I think we have time to name a couple fun playoff matches.
All right.
Okay, let's go. Let's
Should
hammer
I
these
give
out.
you my 3 through 1 list, and then you give me your 3 through 1, or
Yeah,
you want to
sure.
alternate? All right.
Yeah, let's alternate.
Let's alternate. All right. So I'm picking the playoff series I want to see the most right now.
Mm-hmm.
The playoff series I want to see the most, I want to see the Atlanta Braves play the Philadelphia Phillies again.
Again.
I
a
want to see it
rematch.
again. The Phillies upset them last year, and I think the Phillies can beat the Braves again. I think those are two of the most talented teams in the league. The fan bases hate each other. We saw Citizens Bank Park was rocking last year. I want to see playoff games there again. And the Atlanta Braves are always hot. I want to see those two teams match up. I mean, last year we saw it. I mean, I had Spencer Strider as my number one pitcher to build a franchise around. I'm scared of him in the postseason just because he's so susceptible to the home run ball and he's so susceptible to the big inning. And that, especially when you're in a raucous environment like Philly, I don't know if probably wouldn't match up. They would pitch in Philly. But I think the Phillies have a chance to beat the Braves again if they match up. I think that would be an incredible series. I don't know if the Braves, there's a lot of pressure on the best teams in the league. The Dodgers kind of had this happen to them in those 5-game series. There's a lot of pressure. If you're going to get them, you're probably going to get them in the 5-game series, the short sample size. The Phillies have a great rotation to match up in a short series. I mean, I think that would be an incredible series. Those two teams don't like each other. The crowds are going to be crazy. They're both so talented. I wouldn't be surprised if the Braves lost in the NLDS to the Phillies again if we see that. And I really want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be really fun. I'm going to move over to the AL for mine. I want an ALCS of the Orioles versus the Rangers. I think that would be really fun. Two teams that we weren't really expecting to see there at the beginning of the season. Two teams that have gotten stronger as the year has gone on. I just think it would be awesome. I mean, the deep Rangers rotation along with their very solid lineup going up against this young, exciting, fiery Orioles team. I think no matter who came out of that matchup, it would be really fun to see them in the World Series. And yeah, I mean, just like, what more could you ask for as a baseball fan? You know, two teams that had lower expectations, that have played great all season. Two very likable teams. I mean, name one player on either of those teams that you could really dislike. You know,
Max Scherzer.
I don't like Max Scherzer
because he gave up on the 2021 Dodgers.
Yeah, this is the second episode now that you've talked.
He gave up on them. He did, and he just threw the Mets under the bus. I don't like Max Scherzer. I like everybody. I love Corey Seager.
Well, whatever.
Love Marcus
I
Semien.
think no matter what, it's gonna be fun if we see those two teams go up against each other. And like, I honestly couldn't tell you who I think would come out on top in that series, because I would say the Orioles because they've been the better team. However, the pitching for the Rangers is just significantly better. So I think it'd be a lot of fun. I think it'd be very back and forth. I'd love to see that as a 7-game series. Imagine a Game 7 between those two teams to head to the World Series. That'd be awesome.
Two best teams in the AL so far this year. I'm going to change that answer up a little bit. I love the Texas Rangers. I think they're built for October. They have one of the best offenses in the league, one of the best middle infield duos in the league. But to be the best, you have to beat the best. I want to see that changing of the guard moment, and I want to see, once again, two teams that don't like each other play. I want my ALCS to be the Texas Rangers versus the Houston Astros.
Oh.
All Texas battle. We
Yeah.
saw Marcus Semien get into it with Framber Valdez and Martin Maldonado. Marcus Semien's very chill guy. We never see him agitated. The Astros, are the defending World Series champions. These two are battling for the division all year. They're going to have some epic regular season series the rest of the way. Why not make it an epic postseason series? I think that would be an incredible series. I'd be rooting my heart out for the Texas Rangers. I'm not going to lie. If that happened, I would love to see that as an ALCS. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think pretty much the entire world would be rooting for Texas in that matchup. I'm going to have a fun one now. I don't know where exactly, maybe in the DS, maybe even possibly in the CS, these two teams could match up. But I'm going to go with a David versus Goliath for this. I'm going to say the Dodgers versus the Cubs. I think could be a really fun matchup, because you have anybody going into that series would say, oh, the Dodgers are going to clean up. But you don't necessarily know. The playoffs are unpredictable. I think if the Cubs could, catch fire, we could see, I don't know how many of you are hockey fans, but kind of almost Florida Panthers-like trajectory for this Cubs team in the playoffs. I think it could be super fun watching them get hot and make a run. They have fun young pitching. They got Justin Steele. Marcus Stroman obviously has some postseason experience and has had a solid year up until the last few starts. Cody Bellinger, I'd love to see him play back in the playoffs again. Still one of my favorite players.
Up against the Dodgers.
Up against his
the
old
team. That DFA'd him.
Exactly. No, that
he had issues with the ownership, about his swing, and that's what left to what led to his departure, and then he's kind of proved them wrong. That
Yeah.
would be fun.
I think it'd be really fun. Bellinger versus the Dodgers in the playoffs hits the clinching home
That
run
would be fun.
at Dodger Stadium.
That wouldn't
Actually,
be
would it
fun.
be more fun? Would it be more fun to see that home run happen at Dodger Stadium or Wrigley Field?
Neither would be fun. I wouldn't have a good time.
Objectively.
I do love Cody Bellinger. Probably Wrigley Field.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my next one. I think that would be a really, really fun playoff matchup to watch. I'd be into it. If I could get, I think my baseball dreams would come true if we have a Dodgers, Cubs, Rangers, Orioles as our final four teams.
I don't even know how that would work. I mean, the Cubs would have to get up to the 4 or the 5 seed. Yeah, but
It's possible.
It's possible. It's very possible. There's a lot of games left.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think
Final one.
This is a basic answer, but they're the two best teams in the league. I want to see the Dodgers and the Braves kind of have that part 4. You know, we've seen throughout the years that these teams face each other in the playoffs. We saw 2018, you know, the rookie year of Acuna, and the Dodgers beat them in 4. That was a great series. You know, Acuna hit that grand slam off Walker Buehler.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the young Braves saying, all right, you know, we're not there yet, but we can kind of take a game off, you know, the best organization in the league. And then we saw 2020, the Dodgers, that fueled their very legitimate World Series title, coming back from 3-1 in the NLCS, winning 3 straight versus the Atlanta Braves. And then we saw 2021, the next year, Braves-Dodgers NLCS again. And the Braves, was that the NLCS or the NLDS? That was the CS. And the Braves kind of handed it to the Dodgers. They won the first 2. I think they won 3 of the first 4. They kind of handled the Dodgers that year. So now it's really, these are the 2 premier organizations in the league. They're the 2 best teams in the league. They got the 2 MVP candidates. I mean, this would have, I know it's the NLCS, but that would basically be a World Series to me. I would love to see those teams. I think that has to be on everybody's list.
Yeah, that's a big one for me. I'm going to go a little bit funky for my last one. I don't think anybody would see this one coming. I'm going to say the Phillies in the NL back in the World Series versus the Seattle Mariners, who are not out of it. They're 9-1 over their last 10.
They've won 8 in a row. I mean,
they're 63-52. They're half a game back from the wild card spot. The teams ahead of them are not playing super great right now. I think it would be a fun story on both sides for very different reasons. On the National League side, it would be fun because you kind of have almost that 2014 to 2015 Kansas City Royals dynamic with the Phillies making it to the World Series, falling short, and then coming back to claim the crown the next year. And then you have this underdog team who's never made it this far in the American League in the Seattle Mariners, hoping for that spot. They were so hot to start the playoffs last year and then obviously fell short very quickly. Nobody was really looking at them as a serious competitor halfway through the season at the All-Star break. I think it'd be a great story on the AL side. It'd be fun to see J-Rod and that, of course, young pitching rotation that you were talking about so much before in the World Series. I think that would be just like a really fun matchup all around, and I couldn't be upset with either team winning.
No, I that would be an awesome series. I do love that trope in sports, kind of when the unfinished business trope, when a team comes, oh so close, and then they run it back and win. It kind of reminds me of my Volo volleyball team. We lost in the championship in the 3rd set last season, and then earlier this week, Thursday, we came back and we won the championship. So
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you. I know you're all so happy for me, but I love that trope. I don't know. I mean, both teams are playing great baseball right now, so who knows what could happen.
Who knows what can happen, but those are our playoff matches that we would like to see. Before the camera gets too hot again, we're going to wrap things up. Thank you so much for watching. At the Roast MLB on Instagram. Again, don't know where else you'd come for. Check back in a couple weeks to
10 through 1.
Yeah, 10 through 1, and I'm sure Noah's going to find a way to name drop Yuri Wembanyama one more time.
I will. You can bet on it.
Yeah. Have a great week, everybody.